Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast.
Welcome to the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Kevin.
So you've seen, well, you haven't yet, in fact. You're going to see Jeremy fairly soon launch out on, we did his episode some time ago, and Kevin's will launch closer to November through Veterans Month. But this is kind of a topical conversation we want to talk about. With the release on Sunday of our episode with regarding Tag Thompson, the past master in Tennessee that was bounced for officiating a same-sex marriage, we started getting some stuff from members of Tennessee when we were kind of leaking the episode, right? So, like we like to do here, we like to talk about bylaw proposals. And we're only going to talk about one in Tennessee. So, gents, bear with me while I read and struggle with some of the words. So this is a new bylaw proposal for the Grand Lodge of Tennessee, and it reads as such. Add to section 6.204 as number 30 on the list. The list is all of the ways that you can get bounced in Tennessee, by the way. So item 30 would read, before petitioning or receiving any one of the first 3 degrees of Masonry, to declare oneself a gender other than a male, vocally or by dress and action. So basically that would get you popped. Here's the rationale from the proposers. Since Freemasonry has always been a fraternity exclusively for the male gender, this change will ensure that men wanting to petition and be members are at the time biological males, keep that in mind, biological males, and remain such during their membership. I'm going to make this statement I'm going to talk about where I agree. I agree Freemasonry is a fraternity, and as the root definition of the word fraternity is a men's organization, and I believe, speaking for me, it should be a men's organization.
I agree.
I would definitely agree with that.
Okay. So, apparently in Tennessee, this is such a hot topic. There are so many men or women petitioning Masonry in Tennessee because they're so busy with degree work, maybe, that they are setting this bylaw in place. Now, again, I'm going to say it with this. I believe that men are Masons, not women. That's me, and I know there are jurisdictions that disagree. But, Kip, before we start talking about this new 30, let's just kind of talk about where there's some things that currently in the Penal code for the Grand Lodge of Tennessee, there are 29 other things that will get you bounced. Anything that just we can kind of work our way around the table. Is there anything that just kind of grabbed you? I mean, we're not going to read all 29 and bore you, but is there anything that just got you?
Well, and I read through this list, before we got started, and there's obviously quite a few of them that are very much open to interpretation, and I think that's an issue when it comes to bringing charges against someone and following through with that. But just working at the top, 2 and 3, drunkenness, gambling. It says any amount or at any time.
So we can't go to the casino?
I mean, apparently that's what it says. It does say gambling in any amount or at any time, which may unreasonably impair one's ability to support himself. Well, so we're going to kick people out because they have a mental health issue, maybe? An
Instead
addiction?
of supporting them as brothers, maybe?
Yeah.
Right. So Kevin, I know number 4 stood out because you use some words as nouns, adjectives, and all of the above. So,
I am the epitome of a sailor. Being
that's true.
I have a potty mouth.
So, profanity or the habitual use of obscene or filthy speech to get you out. Well, Not petition in Tennessee over here.
No.
Defamation, I'm fine.
Mhm.
Refusal to answer questions at a trial, I'm fine. Failure to return books over as a lodge, I'm probably fine with that. That threat to prevent or blackball, that's fine. I mean, that's some similar things that we have. Making false statements to get your degree, I'm okay with that. Number 12.
Number 12 is interesting.
Tell me from your expertise. Tell me about that.
Well,
12 and 13, kind of.
12 and 13 kind of works together a little bit. It really depends on the definition of what they're saying is in this particular rule, because it says to engage in the illegal manufacture or sale of drugs. Now, we'll just stop right there. Obviously, those are things that they're not Masonic.
That's a problem.
Right.
Okay, and those will be a problem.
But then it's comma.
It's comma, and it says beer and intoxicating liquors as a beverage. Now, if you put them both together, are you talking about illegal beer and illegal liquor, or is it just beer and intoxicating liquors? When those aren't defined within that rule,
It's very broad.
it's a very broad interpretation, exactly. And I think that, especially for those of us that are Shriners, I mean, we tend to have a cocktail or two at times. So would our temples then be out of line with the rules? Because we are able to function in this district or this area because of our Grand Lodge.
Well, let's ask that. Let's go to the next one then. To cause or permit a place of business where beer is sold to become disreputable and a discredit to the fraternity. So, to your point, let's say it's St. Patty's Day at insert shrine center in America. The public's in, we're having fun. There's some beer, alcohol, and something happens. A brawl happens. Not even from us. Could you argue that that's a discredit to the fraternity? Sure, you could. What does that do? A little vague, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what got tagged. We all know what got tagged was 27, to engage in lewd conduct, to promote or engage in homosexual activity, to cohabitate immorally without the situation of marriage. Which again, we stay with that. That's shacking up. A lot of you fools watching this have shacked up or are shacking up. So in Tennessee, you're out of there. So let's talk. So let's talk about some definitions. So Jeremy, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, their term, not my biological male, was put in there. So what's a biological male according to Merriam?
Well, based on Merriam-Webster, there's two choices. You can use that as an adjective or as a noun. Adjective being of or relating to, or being the sex that typically has the capacity to produce small, usually motile gametes. I'm assuming that's how I'm saying that correctly, such as sperm cells, which fertilize the eggs of a female. And then, of course, the noun, a male person, a man, or a boy.
So I'm going to freeze you right there. So by that definition of a biological male, what if I was born sterile? By that definition, am I not a biological male? Technically.
It's very specific, such as sperm cells, meaning those organs have to work to be able to produce that.
What if, and there are some men that are born without testicles, right?
It happens.
Tell us. Oh, just in general. I'm sorry. I didn't know if this was a hot take. So that was the trap. I
like it.
So now, listen. We know what the essence of it is, but that's just that definition. What's Oxford say?
The Oxford English Dictionary does not provide a single definition for biological male as a standalone term. However, based on its definitions of biological and male, the term generally refers to an individual whose sex is classified as male based on the biological characteristics such as chromosomes, typically X, Y, reproductive anatomy, an example, testes, and secondary sexual traits.
we all know what the essence of this is. So basically, how this is poorly written, but the essence is they want men to join and they want them to stay men.
Yes.
Right? So technically, if I'll use myself and not my friends here, if I decided to transition over, technically, I can't change my chromosome,
Correct.
right? I might add some breasts. I might do the bottom half surgery, right? So, but here's my thing. Nowhere in any we're not giving away any Masonic secret. Nowhere in any obligation that I recall does it say that we're going to bounce somebody if they switch, right?
Does not that I'm aware of.
They're still a brother, even though they might want to have a sister, right? But they're still a brother.
Right.
Listen, I'm not going to say it's not a strange situation. It's abnormal for me, and some people are going to make this a gay and straight thing. It's not a gay. Transgenderism is not a gay or straight thing, and I know Tennessee's got an issue with homosexuality, and I'm not sure why they're so fixed on that. Usually the folks that are so fixed on that, you know what I mean, boys? So let me ask you this question. So if this were to go through, because it says, the bylaw proposal says that to declare oneself basically that they're a male, and then the rationale are biological male and remain such during their membership. So is there going to be a committee? Is there going to be a new position at the lodge? So I'm assuming I'm going to help you guys out, Tennessee, in case you're wanting some names for a new position in the lodge that's going to help you guys out. I'm here to help. This is what I do. So I had hundreds, so I had to kind of put these down, and probably some that would not get me kicked out. So how about the Grand Inspector of the Mystic Rod? Okay, I don't know. The Keeper of the Square and Pair. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were in the military, we'd have to do UAs? Do you remember what they called the person that would?
Oh, yeah, it's a pecker checker.
Yep, there you go. So what about this? The Testicular Tyler.
I actually kind of like that.
That's got a ring to it.
Yeah.
So think this through. We're in lodge, and you're about to do a function in the lodge.
A tiled function?
Brother Testicular Tyler. Yes, Worshipful Master. Where's your station at? Outside the door with a rubber glove on my hand. What are your duties there? To inspect the gonads of new and current brothers. This is so comical to me because I know what the essence of it is. And I know you guys are leaving me here, thank you.
I'm just letting you go.
I know in our listen, I know for a fact in our jurisdiction, in an area where we're not at, we had a member, I believe his past master, that transitioned over. Okay? Nobody went to kick him out. Some people felt some sort of a way because it's just different. We are afraid of different.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
We are afraid
very
of different. And we're all different in our own ways, right? So this person ended up leaving on their own. They weren't expelled. They didn't do anything like that because they wouldn't be kicked out. So I guess where I want to maybe go or leave it is this. This bylaw is very vague. I would argue this bylaw is a bit invasive.
I think that was my concern about that bylaw, is that I think it's imperative that we remain focused on what Masonry is about.
Right.
More than, these political, in my opinion, political issues. That's not even supposed to be a part of what we do.
Right.
Also, I have a problem with your skirting federal civil rights laws and things of that nature. And, just because we're a private club doesn't mean that we get to just ignore that fact.
Sure. So, and again, so just some kind of, all jokes aside, how would the lodge verify somebody's biological sex? Do you swab them in? Do you swab them out? Because here's the thing, you naive souls.
Mm-hmm.
You swab me and I've got the XY. I take my junk off and add some toppers. I'm still an XY. Right? Here's the other side. And again, we kind of joke. So there'll be the gender police. What a strange position, right? Because I have never, of all of the people that we have raised at Pike, that we have gotten a preparation room, have you ever once went to do a genital check?
No, never.
Did you ever even think about
It
it?
would never even cross my mind.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever even been in the room with someone that's actually changing. I stepped out, let them change, and then.
I think there's been I think it's been in mid part, but
Yeah, but you know what I'm
but
saying.
yeah,
it's not like you're in there for that reason.
No.
Now, here's what I don't know. I just kind of thought about this. Somebody comes in. Well, and a lot of this stuff gets taken care of in investigation. They don't even make it to lodge, right?
Right.
Right. So if your investigative committee's doing this, if there's a woman or whatnot, they're going to figure that out. Again, speaking for me only, I'm not a fan of women in masonry. Not my thing. Right?
Yeah.
So, but this is just Tennessee. They're a little broad. And again, they got tagged by being broad. So, obviously not a voter in Tennessee. I would always say when you vote on any bylaws, you need to understand what it's saying, but what it could be interpreted as.
Yeah.
Right, and this is a good thing to remember, Brian. In my business at work, we will not always focus on what people say or what they do. It's what they're not saying or what they're not doing. That generally gives you a pretty good essence of what the underlying issue is going to be. And so, when you have these open bylaws, it's just like your Grand Lodge every year. The new most worshipful gets to kind of do things at his will and pleasure. Well, now you have worshipful masters and lodge officers that are now able to do the same thing. So
Right.
I think it's a slippery slope would be my...
Right. And again, listen, it's not our jurisdiction. We're not chastising. If it was our jurisdiction, which you've seen on this channel, we have a controversial bylaw that's going next month. And you know what? We'll talk both sides of it. And I talked with the proposer and thought, it was a fair, analysis.
Right.
We're not here to bash anyone. That's not our thing. Except for if you're a client, I'm here to bash you all day. But if we don't talk about this stuff, a lot of people don't know about bylaw changes if they don't go to lodge. Because
Right.
at least in our jurisdiction, they're read out in lodge. And I think that we should use the platform. And again, a lot of people say, oh, Bert, I feel like you're always crapping on masonry. No, I crap on the stuff that sucks. I think we should talk about it because that's the only way you fix problems and quit sweeping them under the rug. And in general, I think, again, all masons should be men. I think the way this is written is very poorly written. But the other side of it is you are creating a whole new set of unintended consequences. You're going to make somebody enforce something or maybe not want to enforce it. And then did they go against...
By not enforcing the rule.
Right, not enforcing the rule. And now they're out because their belief system isn't that. What if it's their son?
True.
What if it's their family member? We should never be made to make a choice between something like that. Right? We're always supposed to follow the rules and the laws of our land the way that I recall things as well.
Right.
Right? And so I think that as much as we say you don't talk politics in masonry, don't bring politics into masonry then.
Yeah, I think you have an obligation to resist allowing politics coming in.
Right.
And being a part of it. Not just to not discuss it, but you need to really make sure that you are working to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah. We've got, people think about protecting the West Gate, that means people coming in. Protecting the West Gate to make sure crap like this doesn't.
Right. Anything that's brought in should be, without question and without doubt, for the betterment.
Right.
And that doesn't seem like it's going to better anything, in my opinion.
And again, it seems like this is such a small thing. Even in the world, we tend to focus on something that's point something of a percent and make it a deal when it's not a deal.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's diet soda and then all of a sudden everyone's drinking it.
Well, I think that there's many more issues within the Masonic fraternity that we really do need to be focusing on, and that our hard work and attention, we really need to be putting it there. And if we're worried about the tiny stuff, sometimes our bigger issues go to the wayside.
That's a great
Yes.
point.
And then it just continues to become more and more of a problem. And I'm just going to throw it out there, membership, can we really afford to be focused on this right now?
Right.
I guess would be my question.
Yeah. Well, in two ways that I would think in Tennessee, this cuts two ways. Some people, not all, again, I'm sure there's thousands of transgenders in Tennessee that are coming and beating down the doors of Masonry, right? I'm sure that must be a thing. Is there anything else of value on this topic that we want to leave the viewers with?
I mean, I would say listen to the degree work that you did, the vows that you took. And I think you should really follow that and understand that as a teaching part of this whole issue and say, is this something that is really following my core belief system? And, I think once you make that decision, I think you know the direction that you need to be going.
It's fair. Kevin, any final thoughts?
Vote always in the best interest of Masonry and the craft.
Yep, I agree. Gents, thanks for watching the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Cheers. And if you use Testicular Tyler, you owe me money.